As my Uncle Cecil would say, this is a very interesting market. Friday's dip, Monday's rebound. Tuesday, we got a few things to worry about overseas. Took the market, killed that pre market rally. You got to know BDO, or those who know BDO. SMCI survives another day. We'll talk about that. All is fine in the world as long as Walmart beats, and raises. Analysts coming to the defense of Nvidia ahead of their big report. Not much economic data here. We got Christian from Hertz back in the house. He will give us his take on the markets. Cow Guy at 8:10. Hope you guys are ready for an exciting pre-market prep.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
All right, good morning, traders and investors. Ooh, we matched yesterday's high and then kaplooey down 13 and a half handles, 59.06 and a quarter. Still holding above Friday's low. That's all I care about. The buck up 14 cents and 106.34. TLT flat here. Matching range days almost in the TLT the last 2 days. Crude slipping a little bit, down 25 cents. USO 71.82. Gold up 241. GLD 243.50. Silver ETF up 20 cents at 28.58. And Bitcoin still in the 90K handle, up $990 at 93,050. Here we are on a Tuesday. We're going to bring in Triple D. We'll bring in the AB. Christian, we are going to hopefully track him down momentarily. But Dennis, we're down 15 handles, long-range missiles in Russia.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, the market cares, but not nearly as much as you think they should care. This is serious escalation overseas here. I don't feel great about now long-range missiles being used over there. The market's, somewhat nervous because obviously the war stocks, if you go through, are trading higher here too. And we did get a sell-off here over in Europe. But really, again, the S&P's down 12 handles, 13 handles, Joel. This market just steady as she goes, seems to hold on no matter what. Missiles getting fired between Ukraine and Russia. Market seems to not care over here.
AB, what'd you shoot yesterday?
Well, that's an interesting question because we played 17 holes and then we were going up to 18. We saw that there was no one on 5, so we went back to 5 and played 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 again. So I didn't play the full 18 holes, so I can't give a score. But I did play with the same ball for the entire 25 holes or whatever it was again. So
wow, he doesn't lose any balls.
What did you have after 17?
I was probably like 15 over. So I was hitting the ball really well. I 3-putted like every single hole. Like I went through a stretch where I was on the green in regulation 5 holes in a row. So I had a birdie putt for every single hole for 5 holes in a row.
Well, you're good. Then you're
I only parred one of those holes. I was 3-putting everything yesterday. It was crazy. I was frustrated about that, but I was hitting the ball well. So
all right, I just had to get that in there. That's our sports tidbit.
It was over 86 though, so I did not hit the under. So
I had that. Markets digesting this, Dennis. Right?
Yeah.
What else can you say?
Market's taken, what's happened overseas in stride here. Quickly, we can just talk the war stocks because they've been quiet for a bit and leaking. Lockheed Martin, obviously one of the biggest ones, has come off substantially. And I think really since Trump has won as well, it's been coming off here too. We're down here from 615 all the way down to 530. NOC down substantially, really since Trump. Some people naturally think of war stocks as Trump stocks, but I think there's a little bit that, a little bit of fear of when Trump gets in there that, and fear from, global leaders that, Trump's a little bit crazy sometimes. So maybe, escalations, and maybe it's not the time to escalate. if Trump's going to get in there. So interesting, the war stocks, NOC, LMT, and General Dynamics have all been selling off since Trump got in. But they're
Did you see?
bouncing here this morning.
Whew. What about this What happened in General Dynamics on Thursday? Holy macro! Did they have earnings or something? That was a really bad day. Or that was Monday, Friday, Thursday. Wow, that's a big move in that. But trading up a little bit today. I guess they shot down 5 out of the 6 of them. I don't know. I don't know if Biden and Trump discussed this. I just thought the war in the Ukraine and in the Gaza was going to be over, within the first couple weeks of January, once Trump's takeover. So not sure what's going on with the escalation.
I don't know either. Obviously, when you're starting to fire missiles, it's concerning. So we're not a geopolitical show here. We are a stock show.
Yep.
So we won't get into the politics behind all this, but just scary from a life perspective when people are firing missiles at each other. No, and obviously, you're going to see a pop, in the war stocks to a certain extent. If you're wondering why AeroVironment, AV, another war stock, is not participating, it's because they announced takeover of another company here. So AB, I don't know if you have that news sitting in front of you, but AV is acquiring Blue Halo in a $4.1 billion stock deal. Blue Halo, so you're going to have a little bit, obviously, of dilution here. I believe Blue Halo is private. Looking, did they announce
I
it?
think so. I was looking for this.
Yeah, I'm trying to read and see. I've never heard of it, so I think it is. Combined company will bring together complementary capabilities to offer a comprehensive portfolio of high-growth franchises powered by cutting-edge technology, focused on addressing the most important priorities and needs of our nation and allies around the globe. So that is why AV is trading down. Otherwise, it would probably be up with this as well. I'm still long AV in the long-term portfolio. I think it's a fantastic company.
Get a gap fill in it. I'm just going to talk about it technically. Down $9 on 9,000 shares. It probably doesn't trade a ton of volume, but if you were looking for this gap fill here at 184.29, well, you're only a couple bucks away from it because your pre-market low comes in at 186.70. Really good support here in the lower 170 handle, but I don't know. I mean, don't know all the details of the deal and everything, but if you've been lucky enough to, hit this thing over 230 or in the 220s or 210 or even yesterday in the 200, between 200 and 210, and now you're back under 190. I mean, for a stock that's been in a long-term uptrend, I don't know how much more you're going to get on the downside on this one.
Let's go away from the war because obviously we're already going to get people upset. We don't want to talk politics here. What we want to talk is stocks. We're going to go into earnings here. There is an earnings parade, and Walmart.
Let's do one because the cow guy is here. Let's do one because the cow guy is
okay. Well, bring cow guy in for Walmart. He'll talk Walmart.
Okay.
Let's roll the intro. Maybe.
All right, wait, hold on. I'm dealing with some internet.
Oh my
issues
gosh,
right
AB, you dropped the ball. I was like, it's
let's go
so
ahead and roll
good.
that intro and bring.
How you like that intro, Scott Shellady, better known as the cow guy? How you doing, sir?
That's pretty intimidating. Pretty intimidating.
So we were just going to go into Walmart earnings. AB is going to give us those numbers for WMT, and then we're going to have the cow guy analyze Walmart right off the hop here. So AB, give us those earnings quick. WMT.
Yeah, so Walmart reported 58 cents EPS against the 53 cents expected. So beat there by 5 cents on EPS. Revenue came in at 169.5 billion versus the 167 billion expected. But they also announced that net sales will grow between 4.8 and 5.1% for the full year. That was raised from the previous forecast of 3.7 to 4.7%. So that strong guidance on sales growth is setting the stock higher here by about 4%, I believe, to new all-time highs in Walmart's stock. So, we talk about the economy right now. You look at how Walmart's doing. I think that's a pretty good gauge of how the overall economy is doing, and Walmart's doing okay.
Last night, whoever was trying to buy this thing ahead was absolutely correct, because this thing was getting bought ahead of the report. 84.5, 85, 85.5, trade up to 85.70 I saw before the report. So people were really excited going into this report, or shorts were scrambling for cover ahead of it. It does get the pop. It is trading higher. It is an all-time high. Scott, what do you think? WMT.
Well, I mean, I guess it would make you feel a little bit better. I mean, they had mentioned in their, I think their last earnings call that there were some signs of cracking, and they're not the only. They would not be the only firm to say that. It's hard to argue with, and if you throw in the fact that going forward, the sentiment and optimism also could give them a boost, because we've got an administration that wants to get rid of, or at least going to be very vocal and heavy-handed when it comes to bringing down inflation, also cutting taxes. I mean, it's hard to sell it, right? I just don't want to get in front of it. Now, we've got all-time record highs in credit card debt. The consumer is spending on fumes. There are some cracks in the system out there, but this one kind of bucks the trend. And maybe just because they buck the trend doesn't mean everything's doing better. Maybe that's just where everybody's going, because nobody's got a lot of money left anymore. But I think that it's hard to get in the way of this, because my issue is I think things are going to get better. But I don't think they're going to get better when the market thinks they're going to get better. I think it's going to take a year at least. And the expectations versus the realization, that spread has widened a lot in my mind. It's almost incomprehensibly wide. Because in the short term, I think we're going to have a bumpy ride. But this should soothe my nerves about it the short term. But I still think that we aren't going to be able to solve all the problems in one quarter. It's going to take at least 4 quarters, or maybe even longer, before we actually know where. I mean, how long can it take to even get a bump from tax cuts? How long is it going to take to get a bump from cutting all the government waste? How long is it going to take to do anything that's going to come through? But so we're going to have sentiment and optimism come through. And here's what I kind of feel like that is. Like, number one, you can't eat sentiment or optimism, right? There's 60 to 70% of America that's hurting today. They need their problems solved today, but it's not going to happen overnight. That's the issue. So hopefully the sentiment and optimism can stave off that negativity going forward. So when we finally do see some improvement, I definitely feel like we're going to see some improvement, just not when the market thinks they're going to, because, like him or not, it's, Trump's an acquired taste, right? It's kind of like coffee and kind of like beer. You didn't really like it at first. But now you kind of can't live without them. That's what it's kind of like. And also this whole Trump trade, this whole new administration trade, it's either going to be, depending on where you sit on what side of the aisle you're on, it's either FOMO or it's either oh no, right? So
Pretty much.
I think that I think with both of those things, I'm bullish in 12 to 18 months. I'm neutral to a little nervous in the next 3 to 6, because I know that he's going to be handed a plate of you-know-what come January 20th, and he's going to have to work out of it. And however long it takes him to do that, great. It's just, can his optimism and sentiment overtake the bad news I still think is coming around the corner?
Is that bad news on the inflation front? Like inflation not being in check, interest rates not coming down? Is that where you see the bumps in the road?
I've got my own show called The Cow Guy Close, 1 Central, 2 Eastern, RFD TV. I'll do that as a cheap plug. But what I'm going to talk about for all of 2025 are 2 big words, and that's going to be inflation and debt. Then we're going to go through 36 trillion by the end of this year. So that means in one calendar year, we've gone through 34 trillion in national debt, then 35 this summer, and 36 before we go away for Christmas. And at the same time, we've got the interest on the debt. The debt service on our annual budget is the second biggest line item, right behind Social Security. So we can't ignore the fact that it's like Ernest Hemingway said when they asked him, how did you go bankrupt? He says, well, at first it was really slow, then all of a sudden, all at once. I kind of feel like we're getting closer to the all of a sudden, all at once part of that saying, because we're one downgrade away from people really losing confidence. And so depending on how well we can shore up things, that debt's going to be huge, but also inflation's going to be huge, because we're going to have to monetize our debt to get out of our problems. And if you monetize the debt, that means you're going to have to let inflation run a little higher, a little hotter and a little longer than you want it. And so this 2% idea, I think, is going to be thrown to the wind, and this will be good for stocks, I think, ultimately. And I think they're going to have to make they're going to have to abandon, or at least not say it, but they're going to move away from it. And maybe you're going to expect inflation to be between, say, 3 and 4%. And while we try to bring down that annual nut that we have to pay on the debt service for our budget, and B, the total debt that we're worried about on a national basis. So I think debt and inflation are the two biggest things, and those things in the short term are not going to look as good as they will down the road. Maybe if we can see some tax cuts, ultimately are going to be inflationary, but hopefully that brings in more money at the end of the year or sometime in 2026 for the Treasury, because tax cuts could be inflationary right out of the box. People have more money to spend. Well, what are you going to do about that, right? So he's got a lot of hurdles. It's just not going to be that easy. And I think that's why people probably in the next 3 to 6 months will be a little bit reticent, but ultimately I think it'll be okay. But it's just how we handle the 60 or 70% of America that I think right now is in the middle of a recession.
What is possibly inflationary as well is tariffs coming in. And if Trump administration is going to get really tough on China and really tough on tariffs, I don't see how that doesn't get passed on to the consumer. So, there's a lot of considerations here, Scott.
Yeah, there are. Well, some of it will be eaten by, the manufacturers, and some of it will be passed on to the consumer. And the consumer probably also will change their behavior too. So it all kind of gets muted there. But another thing that we always fail to realize, to talk about when we talk about inflation, is the Fed cutting rates by 75 basis points and wanting to do another 25 before the end of the year. That's also inflationary. I mean, look at how do you square the fact that we've seen almost an 80 to 90% basis point rally in the 10-year yield while we see a 75 basis point cut when we talk about Fed funds? I mean, something's got to give. And I think that the truth serum is the bond market. It's bigger than the equity market, and we can't ignore what they're trying to tell us.
So how do we play it? Like, what's the play here? If we think inflation's going to come back into this market, do we just selling stocks across the board?
No, you know what?
Can certain stocks rally, like Nvidia, in an inflationary environment still does very well. How are we positioning ourselves if we do believe that inflation's going to creep back in here?
I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but let's go back to 1995, right? I was in the markets then too. I'm really old. But if you remember, I mean, we had a fantastic 5-year run there. 20+% return in the S&P for 5 years in a row. One of them was 30%, right? I think the last one, 1999 or 2000, was 19.5%. And then we had a 10% sell-off. But all the while, people were worried about that sell-off. But you were making 20% year over year until that sell-off happened for a 4 or 5 year period. I probably feel like we're going to be this wall of worry still, but we're going to have inflation that's going to be good for stocks. They'll abandon that 2% target. They'll move it to 3 to 4. That will probably be good for stocks. If the economy can grow broadly, not just these 7, the 7 tech stocks we always keep talking about. But I ultimately do think we'll see some sort of correction. I had a guy on my show who's pretty good. He said last week that he thinks next year we'll see a 15 to 30% sell-off in the stock market. There's a lot of those people out there. I think that there's too much money on the sidelines. Part of it's me. I'm waiting for a better deal. I do have money in the market, but I also have some dry powder. But it just doesn't seem like I get my opportunity. So maybe we're going to see some decent gains in the stock market here for the next 3-4 years. And if you do see a 10% sell-off, you're still going to be ahead.
So you basically, Scott, you're saying that right now you think, the new administration will be a net positive for the economy, but that there still could be some weakness in the stock market. Why do you think the stock market will be worried about? Is it just inflation? Is that the biggest issue?
No, you're going to have inflation. Yeah, inflation, the 10-year yield, borrowing costs too high. But at the same time, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I just don't believe the numbers we were getting from the government were reliable last year. I mean, we were off by 818,000 jobs. I mean, look, the only reason why we've had a positive GDP, fellas, is because we've been spending government money, right? We bought ourselves out of a recession, but in the same time,
that's been the case for 20 years,
right? And so
policy has driven so much of the economic growth. I mean,
yes,
you're at a point, right? Yeah. If population isn't growing, it's hard to grow the economy without help.
And so you go back to 08, 09, and you can see it. Go back, take an S&P chart back to 2000. You can clearly see in 08, 09, the Fed has not said it outright, but they just basically said back, their actions have told us they're not going to let the market go down. We might have some scares, but if you look at what they've since 08, 09, that chart has gone through the roof. Now, how long can that go? Well, that goes as long as the Fed's willing to make sure the market doesn't go lower. I think that's a bad thing, but I can be on the sidelines and be right, but be not make any money, or be in the market, be involved, and make sure that I'm aware when I start to see the sands shift underneath my feet, because they're not. I mean, they come to the rescue every single time. They just don't let the market correct itself. When I got in the business in the 80s, you had markets sell off. They bounced around a little bit. The market got healthy again. It's like building up your muscles. You break your muscles down so that they come back and heal stronger. The Fed's not letting the market do that. And so at some point in time, we got to pay the piper. But right now, I can be on the sidelines and be wrong and not make any money, or be involved, let this thing make some annual gains, and make sure that I see the writing on the wall, and cover myself going, and get out before it happens. That's your only choice right now, I think. So I think the new administration is going to be giving the books to the government, and they're going to look under the hood, and they're going to see that this thing was not all what it was cracked up to be. They're going to get blamed for it. We'll probably have a little bit of a sell-off next year because of that, and then I think that you want to be involved.
Got it. So you're going to have a little bit of cash ready to go. Wait,
1,000% for the next 6 to 8 months. I'm going to make sure that, because I think you will get some stocks at cheaper prices. But I don't think you're going to get the 20% sell off. But I do think that will happen at some point in time, but not right now, because the Fed's not going to let the market go down.
Which sectors would you be taking the stab in once we do get a pullback? You've got some cash, you've got some dry powder to deploy. What are you looking at? Are you looking at tech stocks, chip stocks? Well, where are you going?
Well, I think AI, but not AI per se. I think AI energy wise, anything that's going to have to be, AI needs a lot of energy. When you've got Google buying one of the old 3 Mile Island nuclear reactors, that should give you a clue. And so I think you want to be involved in the stuff that's going to have to power AI. I also, I had Ray Wong on my show the other day, and he made some great points about how there's 3 parts of this AI trade. It's the chip makers, then it's the software sellers, and then it's the retail guy. We're in the middle of a software boom for AI. So like the Palantirs of the world, I would get involved at that level and watch as that, morphs to how retail or how everyday business, and then choose your spots carefully there. So I think that I'm not as much as a buyer of Nvidia as I am the software sellers. As then I'll move into the retail. I like that idea. So, it's going to have to be around AI, but AI that sucks down energy, AI as it moves into the retail sector, and what firms, does Wendy's use AI better than Walmart? I don't know, but we'll get some clues when we get closer to that time. But you can't ignore that fact. And that productivity may just stave off, what I would see is probably some, black clouds on the horizon. That could be the one saving grace.
There you go. Well, we know you're a busy guy, Scott. You've got places to be. It's 8:25. We appreciate you joining us this morning on Pre-Market Prep. Again, smash the like for Cow Guy. Scott, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be calling you soon.
All right, fellas. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks,
You do the
Scott.
same.
I just want to go to this Walmart price action. Really super interesting here. I don't know what that little dump was that you had there, but it's going to be do you think it's going to close
conference
over?
call going on.
Yeah, maybe the conference call. 87, man. I just would say keep your eye on that level because they're going to have to sweep up 3 handles worth of orders in the book, right? It's traded a lot of volume, 2 million. But man, right now I think you open 87, and if you don't catch an 87 bid off the hop, look out below. I think you could have enough people selling in the weakness. But we'll see where that Walmart opens.
All righty, let's go.
Walmart is as expensive. Oh, sorry. Walmart's as expensive as it's been in years. Its PE right now is 43 times. Its forward PE is 31. This is as expensive as I can ever remember Walmart. It usually trades like mid-20s. Sometimes, in the cases, it's been down actually in the high teens when it's gotten to these trough multiples where, the stock didn't go anywhere for a decade at one point in time. It's really run. When you get a perspective, can it go to 100? Scott made some fantastic points. You got the trade down happening here for sure, where you got half you know,
Yeah.
the population, which is struggling to pay the bills, going to Walmart and Costco and buying everything there because the stuff is just cheaper there. I mean, I think that continues to a certain extent, but then you've also got, you know, this other trade happening here where, well, that's the trade. That's what's holding it up. But have we priced in too much? Have we priced in like too much, you know, good news here at a certain point in time, Walmart, when we're paying up 31 times for Walmart, 32 times for Walmart? I mean, I guess Costco, we've always paid 40 times. So if they think they're going to value it like Costco here, I guess, you know, as multiple expansion can still happen. 5% growth isn't nothing. But I mean, the trade down effects are here real, and it probably keeps the stock elevated.
Well, so to Scott's point that look,
That's all.
maybe Walmart's doing well, they're doing better than other retailers because people are trading down and going to Walmart just because Walmart is reporting good earnings doesn't mean the economy is doing well. That there may be truth to that, but at the end of the day, Walmart makes more profits, more of its money from discretionary spending. Walmart's not making most of its money by selling bananas for 30 cents a banana. They're making money by selling TVs and home furniture and all and apparel and all this other stuff. So the fact that their earnings and sales growth is this good, I think, is actually a good sign for the economy because it shows that discretionary spending hasn't slowed down, and now we've got the holiday season coming up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see other retailers, Target, etc., like have actually good numbers this holiday season. Now what happens after that, I don't know, but I do think that. Looking at the Walmart numbers is good sign that there's no slowdown in consumer spending at this very moment. That's not to say that it won't happen soon. But let's go to Lowe's real quick next. Another stock in the retail space. So Lowe's reported EPS of $2.89 that beat the $2.82 expected. Revenue came in at $20.17 billion, beat the $19.95 billion expected there. So the net income fell to $1.7 billion though, or $2.99 per share, compared with $1.77 billion in the year ago period. So it actually came down a little bit year over year. The stock is, what's the stock doing right now, Joel?
Down 327. Triple D, you want to give your fundamental take on this one, or you want me to just go right to the technicals?
No, go into the technicals here. I mean, Home Depot's obviously already reported, so we get Lowe's afterwards, which always gives you a little bit more of a muted response when you get the second one to report here. But break down the technicals here. I mean, the story is still intact for Lowe's and Home Depot.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, first of all, for you Home Depot fans out there, wow, what a bastion of support here. So until this takes out 403, good to go, man. Multiple lows in that area. Going to Lowe's, I do see like the spike and then also the drop, but right now, which is catching my attention, is you're still above yesterday's low here after 41,000 shares have traded. So that's 67.33. So if it holds yesterday's low, boom, you get a shot. Maybe go unchanged on the day at 271.77. But that's interesting. If the sellers come in, the market gets hit, you take out yesterday's low, and you are getting in a little bit of a vacuum area. But you see what the bulls do right now. They're defending LOW at yesterday or above yesterday's low. We got leakage going on in the S&P, Dennis. I don't know if if you're seeing anything. I don't believe we had any 830 numbers here. Market.
Well, it's red across the board here, Joel. Like, obviously, consumer staples and defense stocks are up, but everything else is red here. So you've got banks, red, IWM, red, mega cap tech, all 7 except for Nvidia, all 6, I should say 6. Nvidia is holding up, does report earnings, get the pre-earnings run. It's the only one holding green, but I'm looking Tesla, Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Google, Amazon, and Amazon down even with the good Walmart numbers. Netflix all trading in the red. Netflix had a great day yesterday. It's across the board weakness here, really. And then if you go into other sectors too, like small caps are getting crushed. I mean, there's just worries here. Obviously, it's the escalations over between the Ukraine and Russia situation. That is the driver here today. But stocks are getting hit across the board here, really. So it's nothing like getting murdered. It's just weakness across the board.
Well, let's do the news on the one that's up before we move on here.
Let's go to SMCI real quick, which we actually talked about yesterday. yesterday as being a potential, that it's a cheap stock if you can believe some of the numbers, if they figure out some of their accounting issues. So this came out yesterday after the close that the company is bringing in BDO, one of the biggest accounting firms, auditors in the world, to, after, who was it? Was it Ernst & Young that dropped out?
Was it Ernst & Young
I
or
think
was
it
it
was.
Stanley Cheatham and Howe?
I think it was Ernst and Young.
Either way, but this came out after the close yesterday. Why was SMC up so much during the actual session yesterday? Do you guys know? 'Cause I was trying to find-
Yeah, because they'd filed the extension. Remember, they were filing to file the extension. So, which they were
Right,
going
we
to
talked
get,
about that in
because
the
there was risk that they were going to delist it on Saturday. Then Friday night they got some extension that was going to get approved. So that was going to get them to the end of the year. Now they've hired BDO. So I mean, those who know BDO. That's the commercial, obviously. But I mean, this is a huge step in the right direction. Like, think about what I said yesterday. So what I said yesterday morning on the show, SMCI was obviously already trading up, up $1 or $2 in the pre-market because the extension was there. This is, if you can believe the numbers, this is one of the cheapest AI stocks you're ever going to get. If you can believe the numbers. That's the big F. I didn't buy the stocks. I don't know if I can believe the numbers or not. Getting BDO in there. BDO is huge. BDO is well respected, one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. Getting BDO in there to clean it up is definitely a step in the right direction. So if BDO goes in there and then BDO leaves, you got major problems. If BDO goes in there, cleans it up, gets the filing out there, and it's just a matter of dotting more I's and crossing more T's, the stock is still dirt cheap even at $27. So that's the wild card. We don't know what's going to happen, but hiring BDO is definitely a step in the right direction. And hiring BDO is why the stock is trading up 25% this morning.
Did you see where it got to, Dennis?
30 something. 32?
30.75.
30.75? Yeah, I know. They
Yeah.
just got really excited. Again, this does not mean, just because you hire BDO, does not mean there isn't shenanigans, doesn't mean anything. But it does mean that BDO, I believe, will come and get to the bottom of it. So they're hiring BDO to say, clean us up, get us legit, and let's, move on here. And maybe this is the step that's needed. So again, do you come in and buy dips on this, saying,
Nope.
again, if BDO, it's a binary, situation all of a sudden, a binary bet. BDO goes in, books are a mess, and all of a sudden, they quit too. The stock gets murdered, like cut in half if that happens. Probably doesn't happen. I would hope that that's not happening, but that's a possibility. BDO goes in, cleans it up, gets the filing in. It's not as bad as the market has feared. The stock could really pop on it. So, I mean, you're at a point here now we play the waiting game. BDO isn't going to be able to go in one day and solve all the problems. This is going to be a process, folks. We're not going to have news next week, probably. Maybe they get the filing in there. It's hard to say. So, but I think this is going to be a process here now. But they got the right people on the job.
Wow, I mean, I just think it's hard, like, if you're buying it now, because I think there are people that did, like, have been a kid, like, say, oh, it can't be always bad news, and they're just selling into these pops. They could care less if that stock ever goes back to 35, 40, or whatever. They're just they're taking shots on it. I don't know if they're using calls and then maybe selling the stock against it. I'm sure, like, all the option premiums and those in the stock are very bloated. Top of yesterday's range, 23.68. It's just kind of in no man's land. I will say keep an eye on 28. And the reason I say that is because it's the only area where I have a pair of highs. And you're 80 cents away from there. So if you don't take out 28, barrel your way to 28.75, then you may be having the selling weakness, and you're gapping all over the place on the news on here on SMCI.
I mean, if the company had like rampant accounting fraud, like a Luckin Coffee or Enron, like they wouldn't want a accounting firm like BDO to come in, right? They must feel at least somewhat confident that their numbers hold some weight to have a firm like BDO come in.
AB, completely agree. Completely agree. It's not like they hired some, do we cheat them and how company, like joking Joel was saying. Is that do we cheat them and how? I remember that game Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah,
That's where
I said, can we? I think
can we?
do we?
But it was do we
Can.
cheat them and how? So funny. And I think that was like Simpsons thing too. That might have been. But great point. Fantastic point, AB. You're hiring one of the most legit firms out there. You must think that, you know what, our, accounting, we don't know what we're doing, but we're not cheating. So maybe that's the case. So that is a huge vote of confidence. Like when I saw the BDO headline, I was like, buy it. It popped $4 like instantaneously, Joel. If you look at it, like instantaneous, the algos are so all over it. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Do I pay up 20% for it? I'm like, I'd like it to pull back a little bit, but automatically you think buy it. Now, we are getting a pullback here. This is a tough call. This is a really tough call.
This is a very tough one.
It's like, and again, you could say, oh, play with options. Well, let's just go and have the fun game of looking at option premiums on this because they are going to be absolutely ridiculous, I tell you. Jacked up here too. Let's just go out and say, well, we're going to play with options. We're going to go to the options train on our SMCI. We're going to go out to I don't know, let's go out to January just to give ourselves a BDO a little bit of time. And we're going to buy it went off the board. It went off the board at 21.54. The options market aren't open. So at that point in time, the 22 calls were still going for $5.70. It's huge premium, man, for 2 months. It's huge premium. Even if you went out and say, I'm going to buy the 30s, they're $3.35. So I guess your risk or your loss is only $3.35. So maybe it's a safer way to play it because if there is accounting shenanigans happening, that thing could fall 50%. So paying maybe only a 20 or 30%, 20% premium on an option maybe is the way to go it. But still, I don't know. I'm sitting this one out right now. No position SMCI. People say, did you buy it? Did you buy it? Would I trade it? Yeah, maybe I trade it. I trade everything. Am I putting in the long-term investment portfolio at this point in time? Oh, I don't know. I've already, I got burned on the back half thinking, that it was, not going to be an issue. And then they count, and then the auditors quit. So I'm like, the auditors have already quit once, so I don't know if I want to get burned twice. Burn me once, shame on you. Burn me twice, shame on me. I think I'm just sitting this one out.
Yeah, and technically it's in no man's land too. But go ahead, AB.
I was going to say, sticking in the chip space here real quick. We did have a couple of headlines. Of course, we're gearing up for Nvidia's earnings. We also had an executive leave AMD. I'm trying to get the exact details there.
Chief accounting officer.
Chief accounting. Maybe they're going to SMCI.
Maybe. Yeah.
So is AMD's down slightly on this news?
It was last night. It's now down on market effects. It bounced back. I mean, people quit. Automatically, the algos assume chief accounting officer gone, sell. And they sold AMD down $1.50 when the headline hit. And then it's like, people quit and leave and do things all the time. It's not because there's accounting shenanigans there. I mean, Lisa Su is running the show over there. I highly doubt you've got accounting shenanigans at AMD. So then I think logic comes into this market and they actually bought it back saying people quit for a variety of reasons. It's not always because of accounting shenanigans. So that's bought up. Now, if you look, it's trading down 0.71%. The market's down 0.48%. It's down, right around where you think it would be. So I don't think there's a hell of a lot of, accounting worries here at AMD, at least not at this point in time.
Just looking at yesterday's range here, you're still above yesterday's low, even with the weak market. So keep an eye on 137.21. If not, you got a ways to go down to 133.65. And just the way it's traded, it did bounce after the dip, but the mark becomes important. 138.93. That is the mark. That's a buck away. So if you're scooping this up off the open, be aware of that. This broke a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-day losing streak yesterday with one update back down again. Not a healthy looking long-term chart here, Dennis. I don't know. Just that 220, I mean, such a ways away. I don't know. Accounting, I don't know what the reason. The guy just may want to
Well,
retire.
AMD's
Get
been weak
other.
for a number of reasons,
Yeah,
and we know that the earnings, you've seen the earnings acceleration here from Nvidia, and we've had none of it at AMD, and people are getting impatient with the stock
they are.
because you've had this AI story, and Lisa Su's going to bring all this, growth here, and they're going to come out with the same, AI chips that, Nvidia. I mean, they're a ways away. They're still, they're in second maybe, but it's a distance. You've got the clear leader here. This eventually, I think, could grow into the second. I'm still long. I've sold half my AMD, but I'm still long half of it. Looking to reload the other half eventually here, but they got to give me a reason to. And it's been clear that it's going to take them a long time to catch up, and the market's getting impatient here.
All right, we
Next.
do have to. Let's talk about some Nvidia real quick ahead of earnings. Nvidia trading slightly higher here this morning. I think just people excited about the earnings that's coming tomorrow after the close, correct?
Yeah, Nvidia is tomorrow after the close, along with Snowflake, Palo Alto Networks. We're also going to get Target and TJX in the morning here, so we're still in the middle of retail earnings season. But three big tech giants reporting: Nvidia, Snowflake, and Palo Alto Networks. Nvidia sold off ahead of the report here. I got beat up a little bit because I was playing it from the long side at some extra shares from the long side, and then bang bang, you get obviously a couple bad headlines there. The bad headline from the information yesterday, and the stock's really beat up here. It is bouncing. It's trying to come back here. I do anticipate a little bit of a run up into earnings. It's not surprising that you see it here the day before showing some relative strength. We need the market to stabilize, though, because if this market doesn't stabilize, and it's not
I know,
stabilizing
boy, oh
right
boy.
now,
It's like
as the market continues to go down here, it's dragging everything down now. It's hard for the stocks to go up when you got the S&P's down 35 handles. Now we started, it was down 12, 13. Now we're 38 handles down. We're kind of in free fall here right now. So
yeah.
other things being
Something
equal,
going
when you have
on.
calm markets, S&P stable, Nvidia usually runs into earnings. That is not what we've had the last couple of days. Significant S&P sell-off on Friday, information headline over the weekend, and obviously, Nvidia goes down there again. So I mean, the strategy is still doesn't work well. The strategy of owning stocks, write this down. The strategy of owning stocks ahead of reports doesn't work well when you get major market sell-offs. It actually hits you harder because there's a lot of times those stocks have higher betas. So right now, the last couple of days have not been good days for the market.
All right, I do see. Go ahead.
I always want to say this: Nvidia, to get halfway back of this move. I mean, it performed well yesterday, and we talked about it. That 137 level was defended, but man, just keep an eye just near the pre-market high. If you get another look at that, 143 is about halfway back on this move here after the big decline. Don't know if you're going to have to see it. Also, just ahead of the report, the sell-off yesterday, I don't know. Also, the weak market. I mean, I think you could see this if the old things continue here. I think you could see this run on the session.
All right, I did see someone in the chat asking about BKKT. We got some news on that this morning. We got to talk about it real quick. So this was on a headline, a rumor that Trump media, of course, DJT, in reported talks to buy crypto trading platform Bakkt. I think that's how you say it. B-A-K.
Sure.
BAKKT.
Bakkt.
Yeah, and so those shares are trading higher this morning. BKKT, DJT shares, last time I checked, were trading slightly lower. So we know that Trump has positioned himself as the pro-crypto candidate. Now that he's won, we've had this incredible run in Bitcoin and other cryptos. And now they're talking about buying this crypto platform. And if, they buy it and make it like the, U.S. official I don't know. I don't know where this comes into conflicts of interest, where, what happens here. But either way, that's why you're seeing BKKT shares trading higher this morning. And again, I don't know about like the regulation or the scrutiny if this deal would be under, or if it would just go through no problem because Trump's the president now. I really don't know how all of that works. But yeah, I mean, I think some people in the chat asking how is that legal? I don't know. Either way, BKKT shares popping higher this morning on the news.
I have no shares in BKKT. I have no intentions to trade BKKT because it's too wild for me. I can't control the risk in something like that. If I was long BKKT and a rumor came out and the stock popped basically 250% ahead of, a potential takeout rumor, I would sell as fast as I possibly could. This is just me. We don't give investment advice. We don't, tell you guys what to do with your holdings. But this is a lottery ticket. This was a lottery ticket that just hit the lottery. I mean, yeah, maybe it gets taken out for 40 or 50. Maybe. Probably not. I think probably, and the comments, so the official statements, we did get official response from BKKT this morning. They said it is the company's policy not to comment on market rumors or speculation. So they're not commenting here, which is fine. No, that's normal. DJT trading down, a little bit, was trading up, last night on this. But this is just a huge, again, maybe there's some shorts in here. Maybe it's a bit of a squeeze. There's some other reasons maybe behind this. But, I don't know. Like, it's not necessarily a short, because if you got short squeeze going on here, that's scary too. And these things can continue. We don't know if the rumors are going to materialize into something. But, man, when your stocks, especially in this market, when your stocks go up this much in one day, I take the money and run.
I just think I'll just have to agree with you wholeheartedly on this reverse split stock. Just to check a Coinbase here, still hold. I mean, down 370, is still holding up here though at these elevated levels. Big sell off, big return. But
Crypto
I,
just has a
I
relentless beneath bid. Since Trump got elected, again, have your list. There's Trump stocks and the anti-Trump stocks. I think on dips, you still got to be buying the Trump stocks, because you know what? It's 4 years. We know he's going to support Bitcoin. He said he's going to support Bitcoin. Hell, they're talking about buying a crypto company in the rumors here, which is, crazy. I would never think that would happen. How can you be bearish Bitcoin with all this stuff happening here? So those are just my thoughts. Again, not investment advice here, but crypto on pullbacks, probably a buy. I don't know if you want to go into the Bitcoin, you want to go into the MSTR, which is the levered play. I mean, Michael Saylor is just sitting pretty since Trump obviously has been
Here we
elected
are,
here.
boy, another leg down in the market, folks. Just like that, we're coming up. We just ticked last week's lows. This is in the S&P, 76 and a
How do
quarter.
you, like, again, people, and there may be some people saying, well, what's the big deal? They've been at war for 2 years here, and yeah, there's been missiles. Firing a U.S.-made missile at Russia, it's gonna piss Putin off. It's gonna piss him off. He is not going to not retaliate. It's going to be, the retaliation's going to be brutal. And the headlines coming from Russia are Ukraine strikes Russia with a U.S.-made missile.
rocket, yep.
I mean, this is full-on escalation here over here. I mean, we worry about nuclear war. We've worried about this in the past. It was an analyst that said there's a 10% chance that, World War III goes nuclear here and we all die. I mean, and then he said buy stocks anyways because nothing matters if that happens. But, I mean, this today, I'm not saying it's a 10% chance. I'm not saying, I'm just citing that report. But today's escalation is a serious issue for the overall market here. And the market is taking note. We've been kind of just steady as she goes over there. They've been fighting it out here for 2 years now, Joel? Got to be going on 2 years, 18 months at least. But now, it's escalating. It's escalating farther. Yes, you could say, well, Russia has hit Ukraine with missiles. Why can't they hit them with missiles? I don't know. I'm scared to think about what Putin might do for retaliating back. I'm scared.
And I do see Christian Fromhert's got his internet all figured out. He's back in, so let's add him to this conversation. But I do want to say, I mean, if you pull out a daily chart on the SPY here, and if we had Ryan Dietrich on right now, he would show us the chart that would say that the market still continues to go up in the face of all these bad events and when things happen. But if you go back to February 2022. There was a lot of uncertainty about what was going on with Russia and Ukraine. It looked like Russia was preparing an invasion, but a lot of people thought there's no way that Russia actually invades Ukraine. There's no way Putin's that stupid to do that. And the market was going down a lot in the lead up to that. And then the day, and Joel, if you can pull up a daily chart on the SPY here and go back to that February 2022, The day that Russia actually did end up invading Ukraine, that was the day the market bottomed. So I'm not saying that all escalation in wars is good for markets, because again, if we're talking about nuclear war, then everything's off the table. Who knows what's going to happen? But in general, despite that there's been some of these escalations in the past, like Russia actually starting that invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, that was the bottom of the market at the time. So, just keep that in mind, I guess, that sometimes despite the bad things going on and escalations and war and whatnot, the market has continued to go higher. Not saying that will continue this time, but that's just what's happened over the past couple of years.
What's up, guys? Good
Christian,
morning.
how you doing?
Christian,
You came in
how
at a
are
very
ya?
light, fun topic to talk about, nuclear war.
Yeah, and
Nuclear war.
I mean, a lot of these, let's hope that this resolves like other situations resolve, and which is, on the peaceful side. I mean, it's obviously a little bit too early to make that conclusion yet, but one of the things that I come back to too is just yesterday's price action. Like, so we started to kind of move, started to kind of break down, and breadth wasn't particularly good in the middle of last week, and and then we started to kind of wash out, and I wasn't really in front of the screens on Friday, but Friday, was down on big volume, but yesterday's price action, the breadth was a bit better. But one thing that I noticed in all of the major indices, SPY, Qs, IWM, is that it was just an inside day yesterday. So you couldn't, which basically means you can't really take too much from the price action. You can't conclude too much. It wasn't really a reversal. It was just basically a let up in the downward action and a bounce. So, I think obviously we'll need to see more of that. I would like to see us get back above that Friday candle, which kind of left a gap in the SPY. But I'm also, so what I'm watching today is whether or not like the lows from last week can hold. And right now SPY is breaching that. IWM already did. So the small caps are the weakest of the three right now. And the Qs, which the Qs have not broken that low from, I believe that's from Friday. So that's something that I would watch. And
Whoa.
yeah, and then you got this little company that's reporting this week. I think it's called the symbol is NVDA. So I think that's going to be pivotal. Joking aside, I think that's going to be very pivotal for this week too, because so many companies are intertwined in what Nvidia does and so forth.
I mean, I'm just looking at the markets melting down since we started the show. We've dropped 40 handles in the last 40 minutes here. It's free falling right now. Again, usually when you see this happen, usually it will turn. Obviously, stocks don't always go straight down. You get some bounces in here as well. Are you looking possibly at buying the dip on anything here, Christian? I mean, we're getting a hell of a dip here today. A lot of stocks under some significant pressure here. Are you eyeing anything up thinking, hey, baby with the bathwater? Are there any babies out there?
I mean, just in different things. Like, for example, like, so my last purchase at the end of last week was actually PM, which is as a tobacco stock and a name that had good earnings. And I just started to notice that some of the consumer staples, the utilities, the energy stocks have been acting a bit better. I mean, those stocks were kind of just left, completely left out of the rally for the, and once we kind of hit the after the election, those stocks really didn't participate, and then all of a sudden they're kind of getting a little bit of traction. So it's more of like a safety bid. So those are the things that I'm watching. I did buy an energy stock yesterday, which is
What'd you buy?
This is Viper Energy, VNOM. So again, I'm
Yep.
just kind of looking for something a little bit different. In regards to tech, I'm gonna wait. So I hate to kind of do this type of thing, but I am going to wait a little bit to see how Nvidia reports. I will probably carry I have a small position on in Nvidia right now. I will probably carry that. But yeah, Venom is one of those things, so even though like I'm looking at the overall, like the energy charts, XOP is a good one to watch because that gas was moving a bit yesterday. To me, that the three ETFs in energy that I watched, the XLE, the OIH, the XOP actually looks the best to me. They're tough charts. These are not the easiest looking charts to me, but yeah, you could see that that leg up there over the last week in XLE. Energy's not really moving on the situation that we've got with Russia right now, and maybe that's just because it's not it's not a Middle East, oil moves more on like Middle East tensions, but not really seeing that too much. But still, the energy has not really, energy hasn't really moved a little bit. So I don't mind owning like a name. And Venom is in an uptrend. TRGP is another name that's been super strong in that space. So yeah, just looking for some plays in some different groups.
Boy, I just wanted to get an update that IONQ. I saw that much higher, right? Was that the one you bought last week and that it had the pop? And then I hope you're able to wiggle out because was it IONQ?
There's two momentum type names that I added last week. One was IONQ. I did, as to use your term, I did wiggle out of some of that at the end of the week. It was
Oh,
down
good.
sharply yesterday, and I did buy the dip in it yesterday. It rebounded, and on the rebound yesterday, I did sell the remaining. I was able to kind of make the trade work a
Oh,
bit.
you worked your way out of it.
Yeah,
Nice.
I worked my way out of it yesterday. The other one that I bought, again, which is like a high flyer type name, is Astera Labs. That's ALAB, which
Yeah.
made a nice little turn yesterday. But
Yeah.
again, I think that we're going to need to get through. This is a name that will also probably move a bit on what Nvidia does, and I think that's going to be the big report this week. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, if they come out with a really solid report, yeah, I would be looking for some things to kind of bounce. If you look at the SMH chart, the semis, I mean, I don't know how much towards the end of the week that really got a lot of press, but the semis have been acting horribly in relation to, let's say software and just overall tech. So, again, we've got a big earnings report this week, but I think at one point the semis were down like 5 days in a row, which is very unusual to see that. And part of that also has to do with the spending that's being talked about. Yeah, it was down 4 days in a the SMH was down 4 days in a row, went green a little bit on Thursday, and then got smacked again on Friday, down 3.2%. And you're looking at these comeback days, like so yesterday it was up about a little bit more than 0.6 of a percentage point. That's not taking back that short term trend. The red days have been much bigger than the green days.
This market, I mean, I'm trying to like grasp what's happening here right now, and it's across the board. So we often, talk about rotation in this market. We're going to go a little bit long here today. I think it's, a day that we can. We're not on any, strict schedule now that we're on our own, so we might go a few minutes long here. I'm just looking here. Banks
What are
down
they
1.5.
rotating into? What are they
Nothing,
rotating?
Joel. So they're rotating into two things. There's two sectors clearly green here right now. It's consumer staples, probably thanks to Walmart, but also because they're defensive. And then two is the defense stocks. Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, NOC, LHX, all trading higher. AVAV is bouncing as well. AVAV has gotten all of its losses back. It was down 10 points this morning because they were crying blue halo. They bought the dip in AVAV because it is, a defense stock. But it's so interesting because all we've seen since Trump has been elected is, it seems like it's tech versus, the IWM, or banks are higher and then tech is lower, or tech's higher and banks are lower. Not today, folks. Not today. Banks are averaging down about 1.5% here right now. Mega cap tech is down about 1% across the board. Kathy style growth tech is down more, higher beta. That's typical. So you're seeing those stocks get hit even harder here. Like stocks like, Affirm down 3%, Upstart down 2%. I mean, this is not the morning. If you've got high beta on right now, you're not having a great morning.
I mean, I think also you just have to take into account. I mean, we get so spoiled with the markets here, and one number I like to give my levels names. Oh, Mac, another leg lower here, and
It's
right here. I mean,
ugly.
I just want to illustrate this because I think it's really important. right here. You know what this is? That low on that day? Boom. That's a post-election day low. We tacked all this on with really not much change in the fundamentals, right? Some earnings reports, just on hype and nothing. So what's changed in the market? I mean, we're going back to that 58.14 here. So we're giving away all that euphoria. Now over 200, we're coming on 200 points off the S&P high. I think I mean, I don't think you could really be looking at seriously. I mean, you can have your stocks and you're looking forward to buy the dip here, but I just think there's just way too much air in this market. I did try one long there and I got stopped out like, almost immediately at last week's low. So, I'd be careful out there today. A lot of air in here until 58.14.75, and we've already had
Well,
a
stocks
big
aren't
range
cheap.
on the date.
Stocks are not cheap. I
No,
mean, we've been talking about this for a while. There's a reason Warren Buffett has whatever he has in cash. How much cash does Warren Buffett have, AB, now? Did he say? It's ridiculous.
Let me look it up. Let me look it up real quick.
But there's a reason Warren Buffett is accumulating cash for years now. Stocks still just are not cheap. Now, we're not saying you got to go out. There's still pockets to be invested in.
$325 billion.
Is $325 billion collecting his 4% right now here because there is, stocks are just not cheap. But with that being said, there's still opportunities. I don't think the bull market's officially over here. Honestly, over the long term, it has been, the buying opportunities when we get sell-offs on geopolitical risk. So, I mean, we're down 56 handles. This is not individual economic stuff. This is worries about escalation over in Ukraine and Russia. That is the reason we are down significantly this morning. This has historically been a buying opportunity. I say it twice. Yes, I repeated myself. So I think, you've got your shopping list, and I think you're looking at what stocks, because again, do we think, that Putin's going to now go nuke them? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's crazy. I think he's probably pretty pissed off this morning, but I don't think it's going to go to an extreme level. But this market sells first, ask questions later. I think this is probably a buying opportunity, but I don't know if I want to just come in right off the bat, never catch the falling knife. Let's get some stabilization today and see if we can start to stabilize. Have your shopping list ready. I mean, there's a lot of good tech companies that are going to be on sale here this morning too. So think about that.
I'd like to hear what Trump has to say about all this. I mean,
well, he's not the president yet. So, I mean, it's still, 2 months away here. So I'm sure he's going to say stuff, but I mean, this is not his show yet. So, I mean, it's still the Biden administration's show. So it still matters actually what the current president says. And, it's going to be interesting to see what it is. What is the response here from the White House? Is there a response? Maybe there is no response. I mean, they're the ones that, we're the ones that gave the Ukraine the missile that's shot in Russia. So it's not like Russia's even responding here right now. This is selling off because we're fearing a potential Russian response. That's the bottom line. Christian, are you got your shopping list going here? Are you buying stocks in the background here right now when I'm talking? Are you holding up this market?
I am not quite. I am not yet. But my shopping list involves just names that had good earnings and that are dipping a little bit. That's where I tend to kind of turn. One name, as you're watching, let's see, where's Walmart right now? Walmart's kind of off the highs a bit.
oh yeah. I tried that. That was I didn't think it would open over 87, and now it's not even going to open over 86. So you got some fluff there in your pre-market. I wish I would have been a little bit more emphatic about that. But the market, market dynamics they're taking. That's another thing. Your company had good earnings today, but definitely, they're like market dynamics. Wow, way off that high.
If you could bring up
$88.
a chart, Joel,
Sure.
of Amazon, that's one name in the big the Magnificent Seven, but it is consumer discretionary. It's kind of bleeding here a little bit. I'm watching to see as well if that can kind of hold in here this week, because if it could hold in here, then this breakout is still active above the July highs, and we know that Bezos is still he's selling, but I think he's getting to the point where he's getting closer to being done. I saw
I'd
this.
hope.
Yeah, I don't know if it's
He's
confirmed.
selling his entire position.
I think he's got a selling plan that he's almost done. I think he's got like another few million shares to go. But I think he's getting close. And I think if Amazon can hold the breakout above the July highs, I would be interested in buying the dip in this one.
Russian foreign minister says this is definitely a sign of escalation. Well, thank you, Russian foreign minister here. And it's not only Bezos selling; his wife is selling too. I mean, it's a family affair, and she
They
has more
love
ability.
spending money. Let's call this. It's not he's selling because he thinks Amazon's gonna, going into trouble here. They spend money. They live a lifestyle. Bezos is not Elon Musk. Musk doesn't give a crap about money, doesn't really do anything really, like he was living in that apartment, 600 square foot apartment building at one of his Tesla factories for like 2 years. So, I mean, they're completely different people. Bezos enjoys life. He's selling to enjoy life.
You need gas to run that big yacht that he's got. I mean,
That's great.
That's
That's
a lot of
yacht.
money.
Nice yacht.
Yeah. Well, Bezos could buy a lot of yachts and do a lot of living, very, very luxuriously and still spend less than Musk did for Twitter. I think it'd be hard to spend, $40 billion like party, but Bezos
Musk buys bigger toys. $40 billion.
Yeah, Musk buys bigger toys. Bezos, is slowly depleting his fortune. But it's Bezos' ex-wife who had already been selling. I think every year she sells a certain amount of Amazon stock, and she does a lot of philanthropy and stuff. So I don't think Bezos' ex-wife, who now has a net worth of like $40-50 billion, her selling some stock is really that worrisome. I don't know. Again,
I don't know, man. They're usually, sometimes you go back and you look, and sometimes those are turn out to be pretty good long time sales. I mean, who knows in this market environment, mass that kind of money. Also, they do that for asset relocation, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
reallocation. Yeah.
Yep. And also, I mean, you gotta.
Gates did that for years. Gates sold 80,000 shares of Microsoft. Remember this? Gates sold 80,000 shares a day for years because he was just, reallocating out, like he was, slowly reallocating out, and he has a whole fund. And what's his fund worth? Like it was like 30 or 40 billion dollar fund. He was running his own personal money at the Gates Foundation. I mean, so it's not, again, we can't read into it that, well, they keep selling this much stock, they must, think, that. No, they just, there's so many different reasons, and their reasons are obvious. They spend a lot of money. They got yachts and fuel and everything else, and asset reallocation probably, where you just diversify.
So we talked about the other day. Go ahead, Christian.
There's a headline on the tape. It says U.S. indicates it won't respond to Russian nuclear doctrine move. I just put that in the chat. So that's causing us to bounce off the lows here.
How do we even know what to believe here too? I mean, when headlines are coming and this headline's coming, and yes, we know we can believe that a missile was hit. But how do you know what to believe from the major media even, and from all of this? I mean, I don't even know what to believe on half of it. Yeah, we're bouncing here nicely here right now. It's a decent bounce. It wasn't just because Triple D said he'd buy the dip here at minus 50. It's a Triple D bounce. No, so I think this. I'm going to stick to what I just said a few minutes ago. There's so many people who are still underinvested in this. There's shorts people. There's still underneath demand for this market. Geopolitical risk is typically bought.
That's right. Yep, 100%.
So to 9:10, we again, if you just joined us here for the first time this week, we were doing the 2-hour show for a couple of weeks. We intend to potentially bring that back, but at this point in time, we are just doing back to pre-market prep normal hours until we figure out everything. So, again, great feedback from a lot of people yesterday. Everybody's saying, well, not everybody, a lot of people saying they really enjoy the 2-hour show. So it's definitely something we're going to consider. Christian has agreed to, come in, as much as he possibly can. Obviously, he has his Tribeca trade group and everything too. But we love having Christian here. We love Christian's analysis. He brings so much, knowledge to pre-market prep. So thanks again for Christian coming on here today. Joel, guess for tomorrow.
We're gonna be Wednesday with Wedbush, and for all you meme stalkers out there, we're gonna talk a little AMC with Alicia Reese. She came up under our buddy Mr. Pachter, and she'll be talking about the cinema and the entertainment stocks, which have had a pretty nice run. So Alicia Reese, nice, very nice lady. She'll be joining us tomorrow on pre-market prep.
Alrighty, guys. Well, we covered a lot today, from potential nuclear war in Russia and Ukraine, SMCI. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Please smash the like if you haven't already. It helps us rank higher in the algorithm so we can get more viewers here and keep this show going. So we appreciate all the help from you guys in the chat, of course. And we will see y'all tomorrow morning. Till then, stay green. And thank you again for tuning in.